Okay, today we're going to be talking about demonstration speech. A demonstration speech is also known as a process speech or an informative speech. There are some differences between an informative and a process or demonstration speech. An informative is just to give information, whereas a process or demonstration speech is about information about how to do something. But some people will use those terms interchangeably, so you should be aware of that. Now, it's important to understand how to do a good demonstration or process speech. Sometimes people will just call it a how-to speech, because in the professional world, you're going to have to be doing a lot of these. Anytime you have to lead any kind of training group, you're doing a demonstration process speech. You're showing someone how to do something. The main goal of this kind of speech is to share information. You're not trying to persuade people about something, you're trying to give them information. You're trying to inform them. You're trying to help them understand something. You still have to have a little persuasive powers though, because you've got to persuade them to listen to you. There are different kinds of informative speeches, and it's based on what the purpose is. So the first thing you have to do, as with most speeches, is to find out what is your goal. You could be trying to define something. You could be trying to describe something. You could be trying to explain something, or you could be trying to demonstrate something. Let's take one topic and look at variations on this. Let's talk about nuclear power. If you're trying to define nuclear power, your information speech would be about what exactly is nuclear power. How do we get it? What is it? What are the parts of it? What are the dangers of it? What are the pros of it? Now, you're not trying to persuade people it's good or bad. You're just trying to define it so they could explain what it is to someone else. What it is to someone else. Definition. Trying to describe it. What does it look like? What does it feel like? Maybe in this case, you would be describing a nuclear power plant or the process of achieving nuclear power. So you're trying to give people basically a visual so that they can picture in their heads what it is like. Trying to explain it. That's very similar to describing, but it takes it to that next level. It's not just, can you envision what nuclear power would look like or a nuclear power plant, but can you understand how it works? Can you understand what it is? And then to demonstrate it takes that explanation to the next step. Can I show you how to do it? How to create nuclear power, how to run a nuclear power plant, how can you actually do the thing? So the first thing you have to figure out when you're going to be giving your speech is, which of these exactly are you trying to do? You don't want to be all over the place. You want to figure out what exactly do you want the audience to know or the audience to be able to do at the end of your speech. For what you're going to be doing is a speech to inform and demonstrate. So you want them to understand something and you want to demonstrate how to do it. One of the questions you have to ask is, do you want your audience to be able to understand it, meaning they could tell you how it's done, or do you want them to actually be able to do it? When you're giving a speech to inform and demonstrate, you're going to be using lots of illustrations and examples. Visual aids are absolutely crucial for this kind of speech. It's almost impossible to do without it. Imagine someone trying to tell you how to get somewhere versus giving you a map. Giving you a map combined with telling you how to get there is going to be so much more effective. So you're either going to be showing someone how something works or how to do something. So once you're trying to figure out, okay, what's my topic going to be? Of course, most of the time when you're giving these kinds of speeches, the topic's going to be decided for you because your boss is going to be saying, I need you to train this group of employees on how to use the new software. Or I need you to teach these students how to register for classes. Or I need you to show the grandkids how to make those chocolate chip cookies. So you're going to be in a situation that identifies what your topic is. But for the purpose of class, you have to figure out what your topic is going to be. When you're sitting down and thinking about your speech, there are questions you need to ask yourself. First one is, do I know enough to actually be able to explain how to do this? You can have some knowledge, but then when you try to teach it to someone else, you realize that your knowledge is a little bit limited. In fact, one of the best ways to learn how to do anything is to try to teach it. Does this topic fit in with the time allowed? If you want to teach someone how to play the violin and you have 5 minutes to do it, that's probably not a good topic. Will the location of the speech support or allow the speech? Can I do it in this physical spot? Am I going to need people to have a lot more movement than we have? Do I need a smaller venue? Are they not going to be able to see how to train the flea circus? In the instance of this assignment, is this something that you can show people how to do in a video? Or do you need them to be physically present? Can I relate the subject to the interests and needs of my listeners? Do they care about this subject? Is it appropriate? Think about your audience, and is this topic something that they would care about? If you want to show people how to change a tire and you're talking to a group of retirees who don't drive anymore, that's not a good topic. If you've decided that your topic's going to work, then the next question is, what kind of visual aids will be effective? They're absolutely crucial for this kind of speech. What is it you want your audience to be able to do or to know? And then what kind of visual aids will help with that? And then, is this purpose to inform or to teach? Do you just want them to understand, or do you want them to be able to do it? When you're outlining a demonstration speech, it's a little bit different than the traditional outline, not by much, but a little bit. You need to start with your why. Why do you want them to know this? And then you have to give a little overview of the whole process. People need to kind of see from the beginning all the way to the end. Not detailed, because then they'll get overwhelmed. But first we're going to go through the ingredients list. Then I'm going to show you how you put those ingredients together. And then I'm going to show you the final project. So it's like previewing, but they need to see what all of the steps are. Then you go through it step by step. And for each step, you describe it and then you show it. Just describing it won't work, just showing it won't work. You need to have that combination. You need to allow time for questions and answers if you're giving this speech in person. And in the end, you need to summarize all the steps briefly, because people are not necessarily going to remember what you told them in the beginning. So you need to give a brief summary at the end. Now, as an option, you don't have to do this, but you could discuss different variations or options or extras. So for example, say you're doing a speech on how to bake brownies. You might talk about, you could put in walnuts to make these chocolate nut brownies, or you could do frosting, chocolate frosting on it to make frosted brownies. That would be those kinds of options and extras that you could include. To take it to the next level, you've got a nice, good, solid demonstration speech. How do you move that up to awesome? One way is audience participation. Of course, that's not going to work in a recorded speech situation. But if you're doing one of these speeches live, it's great if you can get one or more of the audience members up to participate. As we said before, you absolutely have to have good quality visuals, and the more visual aids and the better off you are. And if you can reinforce your demonstration by follow-up resources, can you link them to YouTube videos? Can you give them websites? Can you give them pamphlets? Can you give them recipes? Can you give them a printout of the instructions so they can do it at home? What can you give them that they can take home so that they can do this, particularly if your goal is for them to actually be able to do it? If you can get your entire audience to do it, that's even better. But if not, get 1 or 2 people up to volunteer. Be sure that this is something that can happen within the time frame. I've seen these kinds of speeches go wrong when people have not allotted enough time for all the questions and challenges everyone in the audience is going to have. When you're looking at your visuals, you can use all kinds of things as visuals. You normally think of PowerPoint or a Prezi, but you can also use your own body to demonstrate things. You can have physical props. You can have bowls and cups. You can have a model rocket. You could also use photos or diagrams. Of course, it will depend on what your topic is, but there's a whole array of visual aids that you can use, and you don't necessarily have to pick one versus the other. Using different ones within the same speech can make your speech even more effective. but be sure that your audience can see them. Again, in a recorded speech, that's pretty straightforward. As long as you've got it nicely centered in the camera and it's enough of a close-up, we'll be able to see it. But if you're doing this in person, you need to know how big the room is so that you know how big you need your supplies to be. If you are using a small model rocket and you're presenting in a room of 400 people, that's not going to be very effective. You'd be better off with a photograph that you could project and blow up. Different follow-up resources, websites, books, pamphlets, handouts. You also might want to give your audience your contact information. Now, this is not appropriate for this class, but if you are doing this professionally, you might want to give people your business card so that they can reach out to you if they have questions. So to review, start with your why, give an overview of the whole process, go through each process step by step, first describing it, then showing it. You might want to include options, extras, or variations on the way that you're doing it. Allow time for Q&A if you're doing this in person, and summarize at the end briefly all of the steps you took them through, because they may not remember at the end what you told them in the beginning. Audience participation, excellent visuals, and follow-up resources will take your demonstration speech to the next level. And there we go.